Hello everyone, and welcome back to Cerulean Nintendo. Now that we've finished Princess Peach Showtime, it's time to begin a brand new adventure. But before we jump into my complete walkthrough of Suikoden II HD Remaster, I thought it would be a good opportunity to look back at one of my favorite JRPG series of all time. If you've never played the Suikoden game before, don't worry. This retrospective will introduce the series, explain what makes it special, and help you understand why so many RPG fans still talk about it nearly 30 years after its debut. So what is Suikoden? Suikoden is an RPG series created by Konami, inspired by the classic Chinese novel Water Margin. Every main game revolves around a common formula. You play as a young hero caught in the middle of a war and political conflict. Along the way, you recruit the legendary 108 Stars of Destiny, gathering warrior, mage, strategist, merchant, artist, and cook inventors, and many other allies to build your own headquarters and eventually challenge an oppressive power. Rather than focusing on saving the world from an ancient evil, Suikoden tells a story about kingdoms, politics, friendship, betrayal, sacrifice, and the terrible cost of war, combined with memorable music and a huge cast of characters. That formula gave the series a very unique identity among JRPGs. Let's take a quick look at each game. Suikoden 1. The first Suikoden established nearly everything the series would become. You play as Tyr McDowell, the son of a famous general serving the Scarlet Moon Empire. As corruption spread throughout the kingdom, your journey slowly transformed from serving the Empire into leading a rebellion against it. Many of the series' recurring theme begins here. The true runes, political intrigue, heartbreaking betrayal, a personal tragedy. Some moments remain unforgettable, including Tyr eventually facing his own father on the battlefield, and the emotional loss of his closest friend, Gremio. The soundtrack is also excellent, blending orchestral theme with beautiful Eastern influences that give the game its own distinctive atmosphere. Also, the gameplay is fairly simple compared to the later entries. Suikoden laid the foundation for one of the most beloved JRPG franchises ever created. Suikoden II. For many fans, including myself, this is the masterpiece. The story follows two childhood friends whose lives are torn apart by the brutal war between the Kingdom of Highland and the city-states of Joestone. Fate slowly placed them on opposite sides of the conflict, creating one of the greatest rivalry in RPG history. The political storytelling is deeper, the villains are more memorable, the cast is stronger, and there are even more secrets and collectibles to discover. Between the recruitable character, headquarter development, recipes, old books, painting, window sets, rare runes, and optional events, completionists have plenty to enjoy. The soundtrack is once again outstanding, perfectly support both the emotional moments and the large-scale battles. In my opinion, this isn't just the best Suikoden game, it's one of the greatest JRPGs ever made. Suikoden III. Suikoden 3 marked the series' transition to full 3D. Instead of following a single protagonist, the story is told from multiple perspectives, exploring the growing conflict between the Grassland tribe, the merchant nation of Zexan, and the expansionist Holy Kingdom of Harmonia. As the story unfolds, it becomes clear that someone has been manipulating events behind the scenes, a familiar face for the player who completed the first two games. While I personally prefer the political war and liberation stories of the earlier games, Suikoden 3 deserves credit for experimenting with a much more ambitious narrative structure. Its soundtrack remains excellent, it's probably one of the best, and despite taking the series in a different direction, it's still a very enjoyable entry. Suikoden 4. Unfortunately, Suikoden 4 is generally considered the weakest game in the series. The adventure takes place almost entirely across an archipelago as the protagonist attempts to restore his honor while resisting the invading Kuluk Empire. The biggest issue is the world itself. Traveling between islands involves crossing enormous stretch of empty ocean, making exploration feel repetitive and much slower than previous games. The story never reaches the emotional height of early entries. The main villain is lacking impact. The soundtrack is less memorable. While there are still enjoyable moments here and there, Suikoden 4 simply doesn't capture the same magic that made the previous game so beloved. Suikoden 5. Thankfully, Konami listened to players' feedback. Suikoden V returned to the political storytelling that defined the series. This time you play as the Prince of Falena during a civil war sparked by political manipulation, royal succession, and the betrayal between the kingdom itself. The game feels much more closer in spirit to the original trilogy, featuring a strong cast, excellent music, meaningful character recruitment, and another memorable headquarters to build. The story is somewhat more linear than previous entry, but overall it's a very solid return to form. It's easy to wonder whether the disappointing reception of Suikoden IV prevented even more people from giving this excellent game a chance. Suikoden Tierkreis. Released exclusively on Nintendo DS, Suikoden Tierkreis takes the core gameplay formula in a very different direction. Once again, you recruit the 108 Star of Destiny and build your headquarters, but this time the story revolves around multiple parallel worlds and a mysterious organization known as the Order of the One True Way, which seek to merge all reality into one unchanging existence. It's certainly a much more fantastical premise than the grounded political conflict of the main series. Personally, I prefer the more realistic kingdom versus kingdom stories of the numbered series, but Tierkreis is still an enjoyable RPG with good music, fun gameplay, and plenty for a Suikoden fan to appreciate. If you've already finished the main game, it's worth checking out. Genso Suikogaiden. Finally, there's Genso Suikogaiden. These visual novels were released only in Japan and follow Nash Lakje, a character connected to the events following Suikoden II. While they aren't a traditional RPG, they expand the world and characters in an interesting way. If you're a dedicated Suikoden fan and you don't mind visual novels, they're worth experiencing. Final thoughts? Looking back, it's easy to see why Suikoden series earned such a devoted fan base. Few RPG franchises combine political storytelling, memorable characters, and large-scale wars, emotional moments, beautiful music, and the satisfaction of recruiting over 100 unique allies, quite like Suikoden. Every game has its strength, every game tries something different. And although the series has its up and down, its legacy remains incredibly strong. For me, the crown still belongs to Suikoden II. With the release of the HD Remaster on Nintendo Switch, a whole new generation of players finally has the opportunity to experience this classic. And that's exactly why my next project on this channel will be a complete, fully narrated, definite guide and 100% walkthrough of Suikoden II HD Remaster. We'll recruit all 100 Stars of Destiny, collect every major collectible, explore every corner of the game, and experience one of the greatest JRPG stories ever told. If you always wanted to discover what makes Suikoden II so special, I hope you'll join me on that adventure. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time.